I was a mechanical engineer back in the day. I grew up in a very small town in the eastern part of Canada, in Quebec, and went to an engineering school, McGill, and I worked for a couple of Fortune 100 companies. And we studied sustainability, longevity, time cycles of 200 years, and it was all math based, like heavy math based. And I got into the business development side of it, and they gave me an education that was like a PhD, 8 years of traveling around North America and working on buildings mostly, and life cycles of buildings and how you design them to last 200 years. So anyway, I started my own little firm. It grew so big so fast. I got taken over by a bigger firm. It was kind of messy. It was one of my best friends, but anyway, I got a settlement and got out. And I'd grown up in a gym. Like, I just loved the gym, and I played college hockey, and I was pretty handy at basketball for a 6 foot heavy guy, heavy white guy that couldn't jump. I could shoot a bit. Anyway, I was at a charity event, and I met the future founder of CrossFit, I guess. He was living in a 1 bedroom rented house in Santa Cruz at the time, and more broke than I was, which was hard to do. And I got to do a 7-hour conversation with him, and that was the start of a journey. I was preparing to build another engineering firm, and I just never got back to it. I was just spent my time in the gym, and then my friends joined, and their friends joined, and I just started personally training people out of a little personal training studio. And it was interesting how I did that, started that journey, became sort of the bedrock of the foundations of what we do today. But to go real quick, I started, doing little group classes, and it just didn't work very well until I'd done about 20 personal training sessions with them first. And I put them in a little group, and then I would graduate into a little bigger group. And then everybody convinced me that I needed to open a gym, and I didn't really want to be honest. I was kind of happy doing that. I was making about $8,500 a month, and the gym got like 1,500 of that. It was like such a good deal. But then eventually all the personal trainers got together and kicked me out, and I had to leave. We were noisy and rowdy, and the hardest part was their clients started to want to join our group, and I really didn't want to do that. And for anybody that's been out there and did personal training, and then you run into either something changes in the gym, or the gym folds, or you got to move. It's just it's a nightmare. So I was like, okay, I'll go open a gym. And then everybody told me I had to run it a certain way. And that kind of became like the standard of what you saw Curves do. And then CrossFit did it for a long time. And like F45 is picking up that mantle. And now there's all these franchises all over the place. And they kind of follow a playbook that I followed it for 9 months. And I'll tell you, Daniel, I couldn't make any sense of it. It made no mathematical, logical, physiological sense at all for the client, or for me, the coach, or for the business. And after 9 months, I had 2 business partners at the time, and I found myself $73,000 in debt, and going, why are we doing Bring a Friend Day? Why are we doing a free week? Like, why are we doing this mass volume thing? And I just stopped listening to everybody. I fired everybody. My partners bought me out, and I went right back to a model that just worked for the clients. And then one of my best friends, who I worked in engineering, worked for Johnson Controls, this guy, for 4 or 5 years. He was burnt out. He said, I'll come join you. And he was like, I got to make $100,000 a year in Vancouver. And so it's got to work for the client, i.e. they don't leave and they pay you lots of money. That's usually a good sign that the client's doing good. And then, we started measuring the coach, and the coach made $100,000 a year and took, 8 weeks of paid vacation, and never worked more than 30 hours a week, and didn't work split shifts of mornings and evenings, and could go out and get drunk on Friday night, didn't have to come back to work until Monday. Those are all things we were looking for in our late 20s and early 30s. And so that became the measurements. The measurements was now it's, client retention, average client value, right? So the clients pay you a lot of money, never leave. That's always pretty good. Coaches dollar per coach hour and total coach pay. And then the business, are we building a business that's worth anything? Like, can I sell the thing? And so you need to have a whole bunch of things in place for that. The number one thing being the clients don't leave and the coaches don't leave. You can show stability to a bank, and then you can get usually 5 or 6 times EBITDA. So this became like a class project 20 years ago. It looked like maybe an undergraduate, maybe even a high school project with duotangs and things. And we just measured everything. And then as we grew, I think I moved 5 times in 6 years, from like 1,000 square feet to 2 to 3 to 5 to 10. And it just kept on growing. And we had zero marketing. We just figured out a way for all those measurements to work. And 20 years later, T-Bear is still there. I've got 3 coaches that have been with me for more than 17 years. I've got 3 more that have been there for more than 10, 3 more that have been there for more than 5. And, we did 1.2 million last year with zero marketing spend, none. Our churn rates are the highest in the industry, and our coaches don't leave. So, our churn rates are the lowest in the industry. So yeah, it's been like this kind of like just a big old experiment gone wild, right? Yeah.
So you mentioned the playbook that really didn't work. Where did that come from? Where did you kind of like find that and decide, okay, this isn't a good thing, but it's something that everybody seems to be doing? I mean, where does like I guess a bad idea just kind of like grow and grow and grow? Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
Well, for me, if I lived it firsthand, like Greg Glassman was my mentor for a few years. We split up many years ago. He was a brilliant leader and a brilliant guy. I mean, he went down a different path. We separated in 2012, but in 2004, I mean, CrossFit back then was kind of like this open source grassroots, just a whole bunch of people on a forum talking about what get people fit. It was going to be a non-for-profit anyway. Around 2007, that kind of changed. And I remember Greg talking a lot about curves and curves. He was like fascinated by curves, right? And I was like, man, what the hell do we have to learn over there from curves? So I started studying it, and they'd gone from one location to 10,000 of them. And they were making money like crazy. And that model has 3 components to it. All to serve one purpose, is that someone will buy that franchise or that license with very quick math. They need to understand, okay, if I get 200 members at $200 a month, and then I have this many classes, and then I pay a coach this much an hour, and I get this much for rent, like you can show a P&L really quickly. And that's how I got into it, to be honest, too. That's how I got convinced to do that model from what I was doing that was working, And it's dirt simple. Anybody, and literally anybody, could open one of those things up and be successful in the first few months, because you're going to have 100 people showing up to the door. And how do you handle them? You throw them right into a group class, right? So you don't have any real assessment. You don't have any, 3-day process to figure them out. You're not doing like a whole bunch of personal training. You're not like doing like what I would consider responsible, ethical personal training to figure out what is going on with this person and why they're there. You're dumping them into a group class because, hey, I got 50 people joining this month, right? But if you fast forward to CrossFit, I mean, if anybody that put a shingle over the door from 2010 to 15, literally anybody, and I know some people that they were anybody, like 100 people would show up in the first 2 months, right? Fast forward to F45, they pre-sell a franchise for $500,000, and the guarantee is we can bring 400 people first day. Well, you do that napkin math, fuck, I'm rich, right? So people, you can sell that to a dentist or a housewife or a real estate agent, and those are the people buying those franchises, right? They're not people that spent 20 years in the gym that know what's going on. And then they hire, F45 and stuff, there's TVs in there doing the coaching. They're showing the coach how to coach. And so that model relies on a really simple client development process, a really simple coach development process, 2 days, you're qualified, you're certified, you're coach. And then a really simple coach compensation model, i.e. here's $25 for this class. And then they can multiply very rapidly because the perception is they make money. And they do first day. And then all the problems start to come after that, right? Eventually the marketing wears out, the leads start coming in, the churn rates overwhelm the marketing to bring new people in. And the coaches leave about every second, what I call client exodus cycle, right? So most of them are gone in 9 months. The coaches are gone in 18. And I did a study with Zen Planner, 1,600 gyms over the course of 2 years, looking at these intake processes and churn rates. And over the 2 years, the CrossFit gyms then, 2014, 15 into 16, they were churning 80% a year, right? From that model. Now you can tighten that up, and there's consultants everywhere saying I can save you 95%, right? We'll have a 5% per month churn rate. Well, you do that, you got 100 people in month 1, in month 2, 95, and you do the math, and you're losing almost half of them a year, right? It's unsustainable. Like we lose more than 20% a year, it's a problem. Then you got to hire marketing firms to fill your gym. It comes from the idea that we can scale very fast. And you look at what F45 did, they went from 5 gyms in Australia to 1,600 in really quickly. And the only way you can do that is how I just described it: really simple client development, coach compensation. And then people can do napkin math and go, holy shit, I can get 400 prepaid members at $250 a month. And here's my costs. And it's true. There's not a lie, but talk to me in year 3, how the dream is going. You know what I mean? Like, is that dream still real good? Yeah. I mean, we consult to some ethical franchises now, smaller guys that know they can't do it that way. They've tried it and it doesn't work, and they want to do it right. So it's the long game versus the short game, right?
So is there like who I guess at the end of the day, is it just I guess whoever is selling that franchise is really the only winner in that equation, I guess?
That is exactly the case. They're the only ultimate winner.
Right.
Because the clients are leaving. Coaches are making starvation wages. Like there's nobody working in any of these gyms 20 years later. They're making $100,000 a year, right? I think I'm the only gym in the world that legitimately has that. I'm sure there's some small guys and some guys that are personal trainers that have been grinding it out. But the problem with personal training alone is that you can't take a vacation. You take a month vacation and you're broke, right? And we have a very specific model that we allow the coaches all take care of each other in a co-op kind of thing, and they can scale the group class. The group class is where these things make all their money. And the coaches, if there's 250 a month and the coach is getting $25 an hour, if he's coaching, if he can make 30 group classes a week, God bless you. You can only do that for so long. But that only is about 10% of gross revenue. And that's where the hole is. I mean, you got something. I mean, it relies on the people to deliver a service, and they're only getting 10%. I mean, in any service-based business, that thing's got to be up over 40, or you're just not going to work. It's a really simple mathematical equation when you really dig into the numbers but it needs to work day one to sell the next franchise.
Yeah.
Or license.
Whenever you kind of like start to look into, you're getting into this model and you're starting to see like, okay, well, people, the churn rates are getting higher, client base is getting lower and things like that. I mean, is that where you start to, I guess, maybe see a lot of these? Because it's like it's a very common thing. You'll see it on social media. It's like, okay, hire me as your marketing guru, and I'll bring in X amount of clients per month or X amount of leads per month. Or I mean, is that kind of where all that started? Was just because the rates for the industry were so bad? Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. The Weight Room Podcast is thrilled to announce our new sponsor, Prime Science. They're leaders in harnessing scientific research to revolutionize your fitness journey. With a firm foundation in the latest health sciences, Prime Science offers innovative products to help you achieve and surpass your fitness and health goals. These tools are more than just accessories. They're the result of rigorous scientific research aimed at optimizing your health. Dive deeper into how you can transform your approach to fitness at primescience.co.uk. Trust me, with Prime Science, you're in scientifically sound hands.
It's 100% why you hit it right on the nail on the head. I mean, if you look at just CrossFit itself, and you have Pilates and you have yoga and you have all these things, but if you just looked at CrossFit, and we do consult to Pilates and yoga and like weightlifting gyms, gymnastics gyms, you name it. But if you look at CrossFit and you look at in 2013 to now, maybe 14 or 15, let's call it 14 or 15, there was every 2 years, there was a new marketing company coming out, because you got all these gyms that are now empty because they've churned through 60, 70, 80% a year. And now people, you put a shingle up. Well, there was 7 other guys did it right in your neighborhood. You mean, you go into some industrial areas, you'd be like 8 CrossFit gyms in the same industrial area, right? Or at least 4. So, I mean, they just kind of ate each other, and then there was nobody coming in. So if you look at, first started with Groupon. Groupon was the original pimp of that whole thing. And they ripped through the CrossFit space and a lot of spaces. I don't even know if they exist anymore. Have you seen that thing around?
I haven't seen or heard anybody talk about that in a while.
No. Anyway, that's a disaster. Same thing for ClassPass and all these things. They're just, it's a pimping system for the service-based business. Then it went to the New You Challenge. They sold thousands of those things, which was a 6-week challenge for so much money. And then Gym Launch came around, and I think they signed up 4,000 or 5,000 of those gyms, and it was a free 6-week challenge. And then you get there, they'd have a screen up and say, hey, we just want to train, 10 people for free. And there's a countdown timer and all this stuff. And then you click in, and it goes, oh, we're full now, but we'll get back to you. And they sell that to all the gyms in the area. They get back to them. It's like, oh yeah, come on in. It's a free challenge. And they get there, and then it's a $650 deposit, and they got to lose this much weight. And those things churn like 90, 95%, because people really don't like to be lied to or tricked. And they might buy in a moment, but they're going to remember, and it's right into a group class. Again, they're bringing in 50 people, 100 people in a month. And that thing it's built to churn, but the marketing companies made millions, so much so that one of them sold for $50 million just a few years ago. All built on that, right?
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's tragic. I mean, it's just the way of the world, the way of the internet, especially now.
Yeah. It seems like that short-term kind of solution or short-term answer is so tempting, especially when you're in that situation where it's like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills next month. If as a business owner, I don't know how I'm going to keep the doors open. I don't, my expenses are high. My income is low. Where do what do I do here? And you see an ad or you see this and that, this can happen, and this can be the thing that turns your business around, and you'll see the 6-figure and the 7 figures and all the things that are so attractive. And especially, like I said, when you're hungry for just trying to stay alive in some senses.
I mean, it solves your immediate problem, which is I need some bodies to train. I need some revenue to come in. The unfortunate thing is you're doing the same thing, which made them leave in the first place, right? Like the things you really need to be doing, if people want to know, is you need to do a one-on-one assessment with every person that comes in, find out what's going on with them. Maybe you're actually training them, right? And then you need to do like an assessment. Like we do a 3-day assessment. We charge $350 for that. So you need to learn how to sell that. And then we do, 15, 20, 25 personal training sessions to get someone to a certain level of fitness. And then what we found is, like, we were just going to become a personal training studio at one point. And then what we found is the churn rates actually rose versus a hybrid membership, which is a combination of personal training and group. And the group thing is great for the coaches because they can scale that, and they can make $300 to $400 an hour during a group class. If you do the math, that's how they get paid vacations. And that's how they can get someone to help them. When they want to take Saturday night off, Friday night off, Thursday morning, whatever, or I want to go to Europe for 2 weeks, right? Or like my buddy T-Bear, he goes to New Zealand for 7 weeks in the wintertime. Right? He has these apprentices that help him when he's away, and yeah, it's it's also enabled us to, like, I think I had a friend, Daniel Mura, he owns Push Press. He was like, every coach in this industry is one disaster away from leaving it altogether. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's true. And I look back on it, and I had one of my coaches had to deal with some mental illness stuff and some real bad injuries that caused some of the mental illness, and he had to take a year off, and we paid him $4,000 or $5,000 a month to do that, right? But maybe it was 10 months off, and everybody pitched in to see that he got through it. And then I had another coach that's been with me for 17 years. He lost his son in a daycare accident, I guess you'd call it. Maybe it was not such an accident, but it was tragic, losing a young son. And I mean, he needed 9 or 10 months to grieve, and same thing, all the coaches got together. It would be hard to do in a really small gym with 1 or 2 people, but when you have 6 or 8 coaches, they can easily cover for the guy mostly and have him take his percentage. And he's back they come back, whereas in the model that we're talking about, there's zero chance they're going to pay 8 months to stay at home. This is something that's always existed here. Like, I didn't invent this. It's always been there, I think. We just kind of uncovered it. Maybe through intention, maybe by accident. When we have people join our network and start to understand, it's 180 degrees away from, like, opposite, turn around, walk the other way from what the industry is mostly telling you, right? Which is, the industry is mostly telling you, you need more clients, you need more leads, and you got to grow, and you got to get 400 members, and that doesn't really serve anybody but the person that's speaking. And what I really like about our community is we're nearly all referral based. Like, there's a little bit of, we have some organic social media we put out. It just kind of shows who we are. And a lady at the gym who's been a client for years does that for us. And we, like I said, we're doing 100,000 a month, and I never really have to worry about finding new clients or new coaches. Like, I don't really do anything. It sounds, but I'm getting old now, Daniel, and the coaches that come up, it's like I say, it's an opportunity. I sat down with them and said, listen, here's the math, right? And I showed them, if you do this, you can get to making $10,000 a month, working less than 25 hours a week. It's going to take you 3 or 4 years to get there, and you'll make this much along the way, which is, you got to have a family, money, a part-time job, or take a loan, or ask me to take a risk on you by giving you a float. Those are our 4 options. And I've never had to do a float yet, but I've coached a lot of other gym owners into doing that, and I say it's a 50-50 proposition at best. But the ones that do really well, they can see long term. They can just see, hey, it's like an apprenticeship for being an electrician. You don't get $70 an hour your first day, right? You probably get 20, and maybe by year 10, you're the expert in something, and you get called in, and maybe you're making $300 an hour on that kind of stuff. So, like my top coach, Tom, has been with me for 12 years. He made 100, he's going to hate me for saying this. He made he's for 7 or 8 years in a row now, he's made well over $100,000 a year. He's top end now. He makes more than I do. And I'm okay with that, right? Like, I'm okay with that. I've worked for people that won't allow you to do that. But, hey, I golf a lot now.
Value-based, or if you want to call it performance basing, I mean, you're only going to detract people who are good at what they do because they know that they can succeed in that environment.
And the only way to do that is to actually be practicing at it in a model where you're measured. I can't tell you how many gyms we go in there and we do an audit. So our first step is we do an audit of your business and see if we can help you or if we want to work together, because it requires a certain mindset. And I would say every single time, but there are some exceptions. We have some gyms that have had really good leadership, probably like There are officers in the military for the most part where I don't see it, but nearly always they go, yeah, we have a great coach, and this coach is like bullying the staff, bullying the owners, and they're like the fittest person in the gym. And the conversation quickly goes to, okay, how much revenue are you bringing into the gym? How much money did you bring to the gym this month? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, and I asked the gym owner, well, how much revenue? Like, Tom brought in $275,000 to our gym last year, right? That's pretty valuable, and I can measure that. And you know what? He's worth every penny of what he takes home, right? Which is about 45%, if you're anybody's wondering out there. And all he does is take care of his clients, and all of our coaches do. And you'll have, you have people with these inflated egos because they were good at the games, or they were good at fitness, or they were good at something at some point. But what they're measured on, and what they're paid on, and what the business needs from them are not tied together at all. Like most of those people that are running around the gym like they're big shots and running the competition program or whatever, right? They're actually a detriment to the place, and they're not even aware of it. And the gym owner knows there's something wrong, and they're scared of these people almost, and they don't know what to do about it. And we usually get them on board quickly. Some of them are smart enough to understand it, or most of them are just an ego. The whole thing's an ego trip to begin with, and they're fired quickly, and they take off with 20 clients and go somewhere, and then everybody leaves within a year. It's like it's hilarious to watch the ego game, And I know that was part of what I did 20 years ago too. You just kind of get, once you become a business owner and you're measured on everything, you just realize it doesn't work very well. Yeah. If it made a whole lot of money and attracted a whole lot of people, the right people and the good people, it would be everywhere forever. But it's another short term versus long term. Right?
When you go in and you're looking at those kind of things and you're seeing, well, this employee is maybe a problem or the problem or whatever, part of the problem, because I don't think that there's ever, one problem. But I mean, what do you do? What do you say? How do you convince somebody? Because I think a lot of times what's going through a gym owner or just any business owner's mind is, man, I can't lose that person. They're critical operations. They have the experience. They've been kind of running things and organizing things for so long. Like, how do you get through to somebody that this person may be bringing that to you, but we can find someone else, or you're going to find someone else, or someone else will step up in this position? And like, what do you do? What do you say in that situation?
Well, the first thing I would say is you're a great interviewer. You've asked some really good questions here. And for people listening, we didn't prep at all. There was no prep, just so let's show up and talk. That's a great question. So I have a friend of mine. He was one of my first clients. He was the CEO of Dominion Construction up here, and then Ledcor, which is a massive international company. And I asked him about that. He said, I don't fire anybody. So we train them and we teach them to be excellent if we hired them. So the problem is that when I come in, I didn't necessarily hire them. So I give them a chance. We give them a chance. We just say, hey, this is what your potential for earnings are now. This is what your potential earnings are with this system, but it's going to take 2 or 3 years, right? And you can make this much along the way as you learn, which is pretty close to what you're making now anyway. Are you interested in that? And I would say, depending on how messed up this gym is or how far down that rabbit hole it's gone, I'd say it's a 50-50 proposition again, that they go, yeah, I see that, and I see I'm gonna have to work hard for it, but man, I'm like interested in being a career fitness professional. That's the key, right? A lot of them are in there for the wrong reason. They're in there for some ego stroking, and some of them flatly are in there for sex. They're in there for all kinds of crazy reasons, So, and then the biggest question is, are they getting paid a salary to do nothing? And they've gotten really good at managing that, especially with the gym owner. That one's usually a 90% no-goer, unless they're bored of what they're doing and they're tired of playing that game, and then they can open their eyes. But the vast majority of the younger ones that haven't been corrupted or haven't been around too long, they see it. And they're still hopeful, enthusiastic enough that, hey, man, this is a real deal, And then you can see the ones that you think are going to make it, and they let you down. Then you got the quiet ones in the back that you just never paid attention to. And the next thing you know, you turn around and you go, holy shit, that guy brought in $11,000 last month. How did he do that? And then we go ask him, how did you do that? And you learn something, and then that adds to the database of what's working here or not, right?
When you go in and are doing that initial with the consulting initial kind of interview with the people and things like that,
Yeah,
kind of get a figure.
you're into the sweet spot now, Daniel. So we've changed this process in the last 10 years. I don't know, we've refined that and changed it. We've actually thrown the whole thing out and threw the baby out with the bathwater one time. We've gone into this so many times that now we don't even let the gym owner talk to the coach because they're going to give at the start, unless they're like best friends or business partners, say, hey man, I'm looking at this. There's a very specific way to go about approaching the people that are working there. Say, hey, we're doing this. If you go there and you already got some bad apples and you already got a system's not working, and you got like a lot of we see a lot of situations where the coach is they're figuring out all kinds of ways for them to get ahead, but the business is not from this thing, and if you let them dictate what the business is going to do, that's a problem. And they'll start rounding around like their little group of friends in the gym. Like, I don't know, man, we've seen it all after looking at that thing 300 or 400 times. Like you see the worst in human beings, and then you also see the best. And you just make sure that when you really make sure that the gym owner who doesn't know the system that well could be stressed, it's like, this is a big decision. And again, that feeling that I need these people, you know what I mean? They don't at all. I'll tell you that right now. If you're in a situation, you think you need that person, you need to fire them, because that is already dead. You're already getting totally fucked by them if you feel that. And you got to go clip that. And that's a hard thing to do. And I have seen them turned around. I have seen a situation that actually baffles my mind, that when presented with a better option that they just couldn't figure out themselves, which it's hard to figure out in that model, they're like, really? And some of our best coaches in the system came from, they were the dickhead in the gym. So I don't know, but the answer to the question is, it's a very delicate operation and a set of procedures and timing and deliverables and the surveys, like you survey them all first, and like it's a whole deal that we actually got human resources and psychologists involved in some of that stuff at one point. And some of that worked and some of that didn't work either. Right? Human resources experts, yeah. You gotta watch that. You gotta watch them too.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying, like when you look at something on paper, maybe, oh, that's a great idea, and then in practice it may not be as
you don't know. You really don't know. I mean, the further I go in this whole thing, the less I know, to be honest. I mean, I know certain things that are inalienable truths. And then if we're going to try something new, and I suspect it's going to work or not, it's a 50-50 again. Like, let's just try it and let's measure it and let's see what works and what doesn't work, and then move on from there. And it's just like very few opinions. We couldn't give a shit what anybody's opinion is anymore. It's an opinion, right? It's not like there's conjecture, hypothesis, theory, and law. And until it passes that hypothesis to theory stage through data collection to a law, then and then there's like the same thing. Like when I haven't been on the floor training people since 2014, and I started in 2004. So I spent 10 years in the system as a coach, getting paid as a coach, and the gym owner. I wore the two hats. And from then till now, what we do on the floor, what we do with people, what we do with the coach development, it is unrecognizable from my day. They laugh at me. I'm a fucking dinosaur, right? When I go and I'm back in my gym, I had a really bad neck injury and I couldn't work out for 3 or 4 years. I'm back in there and they're showing me stuff that was like, oh, this is so much easier, so much better. I'm so much less injured, and I'm still getting fitter than anything. I probably can't do like a 2-minute Fran or a 3-minute Fran or whatever. I can't even remember what those numbers were, but I can do everything else real good. And so Here's the non-negotiables. Here's the laws that we know work, and here's why, and here's the data. And then it's like, okay, inside of that, go prove us wrong about everything that's going on, right? But you need to learn how. You can't make $10,000 a month. I don't think you have much to teach us, right? So go learn the system. Go prove yourself. Go, if you start bringing home 7 or 8,000, 10,000 a month in the system, we know you know your shit, and then you can start suggesting, what if we looked at this, right? And then those people that come up out of the system, we know that they're trustworthy. We know they're hard workers. We know they're not going to screw anybody over. We know they've paid their dues. We know they're smart. We know they're good with people. Like everything else is just an opinion. It could be right or wrong. If they get those numbers, if they start really generating $200,000 a year for a gym, guess what? You get those people together in a room, evolution is going to occur. So our model is like always evolving. And so much so that I would have to probably take a year course to be able to go back and coach in my own gym. And probably lose the 30 pounds as well. But anyway.
Do you ever go back and think like, okay, well, we tried this, but now that we know this new principle or new thing, maybe we can put that kind of puzzle piece in?
The Weight Room Podcast is proud to be partnered with Prime Science, our new sponsor and a trailblazer in health technology. Prime Science is dedicated to pushing the boundaries of what's possible in health and fitness through extensive research and scientific validation. Their products are a testament to their commitment to safe, scientifically backed health optimization. To learn more about how Prime Science is redefining fitness with valid science, visit primescience.co.uk. Join us in embracing a future where fitness meets rigorous scientific practice with Prime Science. This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
So personalities can take over the data sometimes, and I have a pretty strong personality. I was guilty of that in a couple of incidences where, so it's a balance between the two measurements for the client. Like we're measuring retention and average client value all the time. So that's pretty universal. If anybody can show me there's a better measurement than that, they go service-based business, they pay a ton of money, never leave. I was like, I don't know if you can ever beat that one, right? Like, I don't know. I don't care if they got a 2-minute mile, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But then there's the coach one, which is total coach pay and dollar per coach hour. That can supersede a few other measurements. So like, for example, we didn't do hybrid memberships for a period of time because I was making too much money and my cronies were making too much money as a coach to care that much about the retention piece, which also affected the owner side, which is business value, right? So the coaches ran away with the show a little bit, and I was part of that because I was like, my clients aren't leaving anyway, and they weren't, but it wasn't the best practice for everybody across the board. So I had 60 clients. I was coaching 4 classes a week, and I wasn't doing the hybrid membership, which is the personal training piece, because I didn't have enough time. And my relationships were kind of solid enough that I didn't really lose my clients. But then we were teaching all the younger generation that, and it was a disaster, right? So we went back in and go, no, I don't care. You're going to make less money as a coach, but it is 100% to take care of our clients. They need to see you at least once a month or once every 6 weeks, and it needs to all work in the programming cycle. And, we came to our senses, and the data guided us there. You need to look at the metadata and not just the micro data, which is I'm making more money. Fuck you. Which is, that happens all the time actually. And that you have to, the personalities you have to watch and put them in a box. And I had some of my people put me in a box, and I was like, okay, I get it. And so you're asking some really good questions. There's some things I haven't thought about here in a long time.
What are some of those, you mentioned it earlier, that you may go and in that initial consultation period, you're like, all right, we may not be a fit here, but maybe that's where it is.
Well, if I can digress in that thought goes all the way down to the coach with the client, right? Like for that to work, like when I first started, and when every coach first starts, you probably take every human being that you can, because you need to practice and you're desperate and you need money. And like Greg told me one time, he said, you'll take every person with a club foot and a cleft palate for a long time, right? But he also said those people will turn out to be your best friends and probably some of your best clients. And then some of the best looking ones that are the life of the party, and the cool people will be the biggest pieces of shit you ever met, and you'll figure that out. But the answer is, when that person comes in the door and you go, oh man, I got to deal with him again. That's when you clip it. Super red flags right off the bat with the client as a coach from that side of things. Evasiveness, I think it's number one, and lying. And you can kind of feel and sense those things. And then they're trying to get something from you without paying. I mean, everybody's got to pay. It's a flow of energy. It's like a thermodynamics equation, right? Like, I'm going to give you so much energy, you got to give me that back in the correct form of a correct amount of currency to match the energy I'm giving you. Is the flow. As far as gym owners, my wife runs that side of things now, and for a while, I was the one not responsible for bringing in clients. Now I've gone right back. Everybody who comes in our organization's got to talk to me first, and I get the smell of what's going on, and we look at your financials probably before we take you on, or we're going to do an audit at some point and go through all that stuff. Divorce, bankruptcy, severe debt, again, lying, trying to get ahead without paying the price, like 4-minute abs. You're constantly in that mindset of cutting corners or quick wins or the name of the game. It's mostly just a mindset, to be honest, Daniel. And you run into the people with the mindsets of the long game, doing it right, cutting no corners and leaving no stone unturned and being excellent, and nobody can fuck with you because you're absolutely excellent, and no one can take anything away from you because you haven't taken anybody from everybody else. And you put in the hard work, and you ask for that energy in return in the form of probably the highest client value rate in the city you're going to be in. And guess what? You get the best gym in town, and no one can take it away from you, and you don't need marketing. So it's a mindset, right? So what we really attract is the right mindset. And the people that came in at one point, because we had hired a marketing company to bring gyms to us, my wife hated them. And they all came from 6-week challenges. Every one of their gyms was burnt out from a 6-week challenge. That was the après gym launch apocalyptic scenario. So we took on about 10 gyms there that my wife hated me. And that's not good at home. Because she's the most sane person I've ever met. I'm like the insane one, and she's dead calm all the time. Right? So, yeah, if they're coming in from the wrong mindset, you can spot it.
Gotcha.
It should not surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they reach out to us at all, that shows a willingness to say, hey, I don't got it all figured out. Because I think I've been guilty of this in the past too. I have my set of mentors, and I have people that I pay to keep me on track and this kind of stuff. For the most part, I would say there's probably half of the people that own a gym, guessing now, it might be 3/4, that wouldn't take help if we were standing right in front of them and it was free. Right? So that's kind of like, those people aren't going to reach out to me anyway. Like we get in our Madlab business, our global consulting online education, which is what we're talking about here. We've traditionally just got referrals, but the problem with that is gym owners don't really like each other that much. They don't talk to each other, and they don't, most importantly, their mother or their brother or sister, the coworkers don't own a gym. So at our facility in Vancouver, we never needed marketing because we do a great job. They tell their friends and family and coworkers, dude, you got to come and check out Tom, or you got to check out T-Bear or Sheppy. And they drag their family members or their friends into the gym by the hand and put them with the coach, right? We don't have that in our gym industry side of things. A little bit, but not like that. So that's why I do a podcast such as yours, hoping we can reach the people with the right mindset. And when we reach the people with the right mindset, it happens pretty fast. They just they do a little bit of research on us. I've got everything boiled down to one 22-minute video. I think it used to be 2 hours and then an hour. Then I had to hire a consulting company to get down to get my thoughts together and say it. Like, no, I got to say that. They go, dude, you go into a 20-minute rant on meta-analysis. You don't need to put that shit in there. You know what I mean? And that, so if they get the math, if they just get that this is really math, and then it's hard work and it's being honest and having relationships. You got to love people. If you're in the gym industry and you don't really love people, don't be in the gym industry. You know what I mean? Like at its core, you got to want to hang out with people, right? And that's the essence of it. And then it's relationships. Like our whole thing is just teaching people to have relationships and counting on them for financial gain, to be honest. And it's a balance of the client, the gym, and the coach, right? To make sure everybody wins, and we measure how they win, right? It's just over and over and over. So if you're trying to cut the corner around that, I just don't. You're gonna end up miserable at the fucking end. And I've got numbers just from our CrossFit side of the world. We consult to and have more on education, like way more that's not CrossFit anymore, but that's where we came from. So I was proud of it at one time. It was still a big change in the fitness industry. I think that needed to happen. But we know that over 100,000 of them have changed hands or gone bankrupt since 2010.
That's insane.
Right? Yeah. That means like new ones that are, and we have that data coming in every month through, industry sources that are really well placed. That's, some of the gyms that are trying to renew or whatever, they're the 10th owner, right? More than half are the 10th owner, so it's like they tried that. Fucking gym's been running the same way for 15 years, man. You can never get over 20,000 a year, and you don't have one full-time coach that's making more than 2,000 a month. I mean, what do you got to lose? Maybe you should try something different here, no? Yeah, it boggles my mind, but we still find every month. All I need is I don't want volume. I've tried that game already. It was a disaster. 2 or 3 or 4 good gyms a month is all I want, all I can handle, and we'll just make sure we do an excellent job with them, and they get our full attention, right?
Yeah.
That's the gym would want 50 new clients, right? Not 5.
I just love the way that you put it earlier about the energy transfer.
It is the thermodynamics equation, right? Mm-hmm. And we're changing my state of energy into your physical well-being. And that is like it's a transfer of energy. I'm going to give you this much energy, and that's worth so much that I can have a good life too. Yeah. Right. So we have a training program by a guy named Greg Mack, who he's in Ohio, actually just across the river from you guys. He's probably the most integral human being I've ever met. The guy was a nuclear engineer on an attack sub.
Wow.
For a decade, and said, I've been in a sub for long enough. And he does the critical stuff between physiotherapy and gym, where nobody pays for it but the person. So you got to be real good at sales, and he has an ethical sales course. It's 3 days in person. We have an online version too. And for example, Tom, the top coach in Madlab history, and he now runs the whole coaching program. He couldn't make more than $3,000 a month, and he was angry and mad at us all the time and telling me I'm full of shit. And he couldn't get out of his own way. And he did that course, and he's like, "What? That's it?" And I can tell no to somebody, and I can be honest with them, and I can say, "Hey, we're a bad fit." And I go, "Yeah, every day of the week, man. That's what we're here for." And he went from 3,000 to within that year, I was signing a $10,000 check for him within 1 year. But he had everything lined up. He was weird and scared and thought sales was a bad and evil thing, which is just communication and enrolling you in what I do. That you will have a better life from being with me and paying me the amount of money that I need to have a great life too. Good deal? Yeah, good deal. Done. Right?
It was really great getting to kind of skim the surface on some of the stuff with you tonight.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. If you want to share any websites or anything like that, you can go ahead and do that.
Well, I built a little landing page just for you and your show. You can put it in the show notes, but I can tell it here. It's madlabbusiness.com /the weight room in that, I for people to really understand what we do, that transfer of energy and all that stuff, I actually have a 16 hours of courses and videos. It's called MadLab 101. That's normally $1,000 for your listeners. I have a code for 50% off. And then for the gym owners that are sitting there and they're like, hey man, I want to make a change, but I don't know if I want to go full on in. I've got a course there that's the price of one personal training session, like $97. It teaches you how to do personal training first. So how to do a proper consult, the sales process, how to do a 3-day assessment, how to do 15 personal training sessions before you put them into a hybrid membership. It's all laid out in there. And I've been told that's excellent. The marketing people at one point told me, build a product that's so good that they can't believe it. And then they want to work with you, was the theory on that. So that's $97. So anyway, if they go on that link, madlabbusiness.com, they can find that. I don't know if you put it in your show notes, they can get on that. And we know it's anybody that's interested is coming from your podcast, Daniel.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.